Hi guys, welcome back to today's live interview as part of the Inspiring Pivots series. I'm here today with Danny Savage, who is a music industry podcaster and founder of DJ Growth Lab. As soon as the Spanish lockdown started and flights started cancelling, the business ground to a halt. And to keep your team employed, Danny, your business and afloat, you have to basically get your business online as quickly as possible. And a lot emerged from that. So I'd love to dive in to all of the details with you today on how you managed to rapidly pivot online. So welcome, Danny. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me, Sebastian.
No problem at all. How's your week been?
Brilliant. We were allowed out from Monday, so we've been on really strict lockdown. We live in Ibiza, so Spain, and we've had a really strict lockdown. We've only just been allowed to exercise recently, and then phase one of the reintroduction started on Monday, so we could take us kids out and we can go to, there's bars and restaurants open, we can socialize, go to friends' houses, and, as long as there's less than a group of 10. So yeah, it's like we're free again. Just being able to drive from one end of the island to the others, that made me smile all day on Monday.
Yeah, totally. So you're still in a lockdown, but even just because the lockdown's changed slightly, it feels like you're back to normal, right?
Oh yeah, it is. And there's a buzz around again. The town centres, there's people around the towns, and you go past all the bars and restaurants. There's people sat outside, and you'd notice everyone smile a lot more. I'll tell you that this week.
Oh, amazing! And they're still managing to, like, even at the bars and the restaurants, they're still managing to keep everyone apart.
Yeah, I think they've reduced the capacity by 50%, and I think it's got to be an outside terrace, so it's got to be open air. So there's a lot of people who have opened the frontage, like they've got glass that rolls up, or they've got a good outdoor terrace section. But unfortunately, there are a lot of casualties as well with the restaurant businesses and cafes. Some of our favourite locals have been going for decades, are now shut down, up for sale. And that was pretty sad to see. You don't see the extent of what it's done to the island until you actually drive around and see the for sale signs in all these places.
Totally. I guess that, Ibiza, a big part of that is tourism, right? And with no flights and an questionable year ahead for tourism, that's a big worry.
Yeah, it's crippling. It's like the nightlife industry over here is one of the main things. And yeah, I've got friends with all sorts of different businesses, boating businesses, where they've had to take all the boats off water because they can't keep them moored anymore due to the fees. And the big nightclubs, obviously, it's looking like they're not going to be open until next year now. I'm not sure. Yeah, everyone's unsure if flights are going to even start again this summer, or if we're predicting it's going to be September, October, November. For tourism, but that leaves that short window of opportunity for people to get a year's worth of income, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Like most people that live here use that window, which is a 5 or 6 month window, to feed the family for the whole year. And now that's reduced to 2 months. So it's even. I think there's going to be quite an exodus. I think when the flights start again, there'll be a lot of people that can't afford to live here, moving back to where their home countries, for example, and it is an expensive place to live. So,
yeah, right. I mean, I think we're probably going to see something similar here in Dubai, but ultimately, you won't know until we know, do we? Really. But I mean, we were going to do this interview a week or so ago, weren't we? But something came up. What was it? You were doing something incredible.
So we did the world's biggest DJ event. So it was the biggest DJ event and the world's biggest DJ live stream. So I'm an ambassador for a charity. Pardon?
Did you get it on Guinness Book of Records or something? Or?
No, because you have to pay. Honestly, we've already. I'll tell you about another world record we've done as well, where we have to pay them quite a lot of money to come with you, and it's $3,000. And we climbed Kilimanjaro a few years ago for the same charity. We did the world's highest DJ set with a DJ called Nightmares on Wax. And we did 7 days climbing Kilimanjaro with all speakers and sound system. And when we hit the summit, we went into a volcano crater and we filmed it all. And we did the world's highest DJ set. I actually interviewed him on my podcast last week, and we talked about how I accidentally pulled the wrong plug out and wiped his whole world record set by accident, and we never told anyone until this week. So, but yeah, I'm an ambassador for a charity called Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, and it's all through electronic music initiatives and bringing the dance music community together to raise funds for families in crisis all around the world. so we've been talking about this Set for Love for quite a while, about doing something online. And it was one of my coaching clients. I was speaking to her about her joining forces with loads of DJs in Switzerland to come together and do a big, like, connected live stream through all her connections in Switzerland. And I just had this idea, and I said to her, do you know what? We're going to do the world's biggest live stream. And after the coaching call, I phoned Johnny Lee up, who's the founder of Last Night a DJ, Saved My Life. And I told him, and he said, I've got the exact same idea. Let's do it. When can we do it? And we did it in like 10 days, 2 weeks from talking about it. And we ended up with a team of 15 of us, all in a Slack channel, all working for free. We had PRs, we had social media marketing experts, we had videographers, we had graphic designers, we had a whole team all around the globe, all on Zoom calls every day. And we put this together, and we managed to get 10,000 DJs into a Facebook group and to sign up online and join our email list and get a DJ pack, which had like a live streaming OBS overlay. So we had like a template for the screen with all the donate links and stuff and some graphics on there, and it was all called Set for Love. So it was all about everyone streaming on the 3 days last week on the 8th, 9th and 10th of May. And you could choose your own set time. You can do it on whatever platform you want, as long as you put our Set for Love link to donate. So we had 10,000 DJs sign up, and we raised £50,000 in 3 days, all around the world. DJs coming together and playing music and collecting donations on Just Giving and Facebook, and it all went back into one central place. And the money's already actually been distributed. So the good thing about Last Night a DJ, it's not a big corporate company. It's run by friends, really. It's a registered charity in the UK, and the money got straight away sent to Tanzania and other countries and Nepal, and there's families already eating and drinking because of the money that got raised like 3 or 4 days ago. So,
wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Really.
The thing is, it's that we did it for that last weekend. It's actually not stopped. So like Monday came, and then we've arranged loads of other sets for big international artists on weekdays. So every day we've done another big one. So we've been promoting that, and we've had more emails going out. We've had so it's like it's not stopped. That was just like the launch of it, I'd say. So it's something that's going to be ongoing. People can do virtual events, and then when real life starts again, they can do a club night or a garden party, whatever. So it's going to be an initiative that we keep going forever, and bringing DJs together to raise money.
I mean, if you bring 10,000 people into a group, it's not going to stop anytime soon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's you created a bit of a monster now. I think.
I know that. Everyone come to Monday, and I had to take some family time off. I'm like, and everyone's like, "What do we do with this group?" I'm like, switch posts off, moderate posts. I don't know. It's like there's so many questions. There's people joining. There's 300 waiting to join, and it's just going to keep growing and growing.
So before you decided to break a world record by bringing over 10,000 DJs together in the middle of a global pandemic to raise 50 grand for a charity.
Yep.
What brought you into becoming a DJ in the first place? What's your background? What's your story? So
when I was about 10, I got into listening to like rave music, it was called then. So I got some tapes and mixtapes off the older kids who you always look up to and think they're cool kids. So if they love it, yeah. So I got some mixtapes, and that were me. And then I started listening to like a local pirate radio station, and from that age I just wanted to go clubbing. I wanted to be a raver, and I had older cousins that used to go clubbing, and they used to tell me what it was like, and like all my whole childhood from then I focused on I can't wait till I'm 16, 17, 18 I can go out raving. And yeah, I just fell in love with the music, but I don't know if I fell in love with the music or the business, because I started selling mixtapes at high school when I went to high school, and all these mixtapes that I got off all the older kids, I started copying them and then making. I had some like inlays designed for the cassette tapes, and I was printing them off. And I was going to that was first year at high school, and I was selling the tapes to all the kids at school. So I had a business from that age. So, and I used that money as well as milk round money to buy my first DJ decks.
How old were you? This is when you pretty much started thinking kind of entrepreneurially and creating products to sell, right? How old were you then?
I'd say about 11, 12.
Okay, cool.
I think my first ever entrepreneurial venture was I bought some bankrupt stock off a neighbour when I was about 8 or 9 and went door to door selling velour cushions and bins, and I made £1,000. I had more money than my dad.
Amazing. I love that. That's how it is, right? And then so was there a time where you're 11, 12, you got older? Did you carry that on, or did you get a job, or how did it go with you?
So I bought my first decks at 12, 13. I bought vinyl decks and I started buying records. And I was quite troublesome at school. I'd say a very ADHD type, and I just couldn't concentrate on things I didn't enjoy. And I was very disruptive. I didn't bully people, or I always attended. I was just very disruptive because I couldn't my attention span. So I actually got kicked out of school at 15 before I was meant to leave school. So I never did any exams or anything like that. And then at 16, I went into joinery at Huddersfield Technical College. So was it not bench joinery, shop fitting. So it's like erecting, building bars. It was actually my work experience. We're at a bar company building brand new Wetherspoons bars. So yeah, I went and did that, and then again I was disruptive there. I just couldn't concentrate, even though I loved it. I loved having banter more. That didn't last too long because I couldn't survive on the money. I wanted to go out clubbing, and I couldn't survive on 60 quid a week, basically. And my dad decided to move to Birmingham. My mum and dad separated when I was about 13, and then I was living with my dad. And he decided he got a job in Birmingham. He decided to move to Birmingham, and I didn't want to go. So I had to move. I had a flat on my own at 17 in the town centre where I'm from.
Wow.
A town called Heckman-Dwight. So I had no qualifications and no money, and I got my first flat in the town centre. So I had to fend for myself from the start, really. Doing really crap jobs that I hated just to pay my way to afford to go out on a weekend, because I live for going out, night clubbing, everything I dreamt of when I was 10. That's what I did. So I was out partying every weekend, going to all the big nightclubs, traveling to Liverpool and Birmingham. I'm from Leeds originally. So I used to travel a lot, and I would bang into it. I'm a religious clubber, and I went out nearly every single weekend without fail, somewhere different in the country, with cars full of mates, getting hotels or whatever. And then, so yeah, I did all sorts of crap dead end jobs just to get by, basically. And the DJing never really took off. I did get some gigs, but I never really got anything that was regular, paid. Back then, you had to do mixtapes and send them off in Jiffy envelopes to the nightclubs, and you had to put a lot of hard work into it. It's not like now you just throw up a mix on SoundCloud and hope for the best. And so yeah, so I went through quite a few jobs, what I hated, and then my big break, so to speak, was a friend asked me to DJ at her I think it was her 18th birthday, and I were about 24, 25, something like that. And she asked me to DJ at her birthday, and I actually stopped DJing for a few years and then got back into it just recently because there were a new sound that come out, electro. And I went to Ibiza and I bought some new vinyl. I went back to England with my new vinyl, and then I DJ'd at her party. And the party was it was like a nightclub. It was in a working man's club in a village in Leeds called Otley. And I DJ'd, and it was like a club, and it was like, this is what I've always wanted to do. It was like the busiest club I'd ever played in, because there were like 200 people still there when all the parents and grandmas had all gone home. It turned into a rave, and it got to 2 a.m, and everyone had a whip round in a cap with loads of money, and they came and asked me to stay on for another few hours, and I said, yeah, there were 150 quid there, and I was like, yeah, damn right, and I got loads of drinks bought, and yeah, it was just a really good party. And I thought to myself after this, I said, is there a nightclub in this town? Because that was off the scale. And everyone, there were no such thing. There were no nightclubs there. There was bars. So I set out to put on the first club night in this village town. I don't know if it's classed as a town or a village, but and we got a back room of a wine bar, what we usually use for line dancing classes and stuff to hire out for local events. And the guy hires it out, and we come up with a brand name called Filth, and we did flyers and tickets, and we sold it out in 350 tickets, I think. We sold it out with 2 weeks to go before the event, and it was just me and a couple of mates on the lineup. There were no big DJs, and we just what I learned to use is MySpace. So I jumped on MySpace. That's how old it was. And I think I was known as Danny Spammage because I had these spamming tools that posted flyers on everyone's walls. So I had all these friend adding tools. So adding clubbers using keywords, people that were involved in the Leeds nightlife scene. And then once they friended me, it posted a flyer on the wall. And so we're automating it all. It's like 12 years ago. So automating club promoting back then.
So with that example, I mean, how long did it take you to come up with the idea and then launch it? Because it sounds like it was really quick.
Oh yeah, I think that's my thing. That's definitely my skill. Like thinking of an idea and just implement instantly, and that's also a downfall because it's chaos, but it works. So it was really. I think it was like 6 weeks. It took us to think of an idea, come up with a brand, get a design, build a MySpace page, build it up, market it, and then launch it and sell tickets. And we sold out with 2 weeks to go. It was proper surreal as well. We had the deck set up on a grand piano in the corner. Local gypsies came down to gate crash it, so there was a big fight outside. It was proper like local town shit, you know. It definitely wasn't the glitz and glamour of Ibiza anyway. It was.
So times have changed for you then. Now you're a high roller in Ibiza, mate. What brought you to move abroad then?
What brought me to move abroad? So when I'd actually launched the club night properly at a proper club, that was just the start, and then after that we never did it there again. The owner didn't want us there for a start. It wasn't the sort of, but we'd outgrown it already. So we moved to a bigger club. And I'd already planned before I launched it to do a summer in Ibiza. So I sold all my possessions. It's something I'd always wanted to do. I used to watch Ibiza Uncovered on telly when I was a kid. And I always wanted to go live there. And it looked amazing, obviously. And so I sold all my possessions. One thing that haunts me to this day, I threw all my mixtapes away, all my music collection, I threw it. I can't believe it. I did that. But everything got sold. I was an avid collector of Adidas trainers. I had a pimp trainer collection. I sold everything. And the money I used, I went and lived a summer in Ibiza. So the life as an Ibiza worker is literally breadline living. You work, you do a crap job just to survive and pay the rent, and so you can go out and party every night. So that was the life. But I realized when I got there, I got a job selling tickets for a club night, and I ended up being the best ticket seller. And my strategy, everyone else was out on the streets. I ran in a grand a week, sat in my apartment using MySpace and Facebook, and I was getting groups of people all around the country who were coming over in big groups of 20 and 25. And then I was meeting them, selling them all the tickets, arranging tickets for other clubs and trips and stuff, introducing them to taxi drivers. So when most people were sweating on the street, walking around for 8 hours, badgering strangers, I had like an organized infrastructure online.
System in place. What year was this?
2006, I think.
So guys watching, you probably thought this was actually you probably thought this was going to be an inspiring pivot series, but actually what we're going to do today is we're going to dive deep into MySpace. We're going to teach you can use MySpace to use the same tools as Danny Spammage did, to have people lining up at your business.
Well, my MySpace account's still there. I did a webinar on this a while ago, and I actually dug my old MySpace account up, and it's quite funny. Right.
So are people still using it then?
Pardon?
Are people still using MySpace? It's
still there, but I don't think people are still using it. That guy Tom, remember Tom? He got out of there. Have you seen Tom from who owns MySpace. He sold it for millions. I think it might have been billions, and now he just documents him flying around the world spending it. It's brilliant. He's got an Instagram, Tom from MySpace. You need to follow him.
Tom from MySpace. That's so funny. I love that in 2006, while everyone else was doing the same thing they had always done to for that role, for that specific way of generating revenue, right? You were looking at it in a very different way. You were looking how you could automate and build systems and use tech to essentially, leverage your own time.
Leveraging a network as well. It's I know, it was through running a club night, you get to meet people all around the country and from clubbing and all around the world now, obviously. But back then, I knew people in every city. And when you come to Ibiza, you usually come with a big group of friends. So the bigger the group, the more tickets I'd sell. So it was finding these groups, putting out the feelers, and using my network to leverage. Yeah.
Wow. Really, really interesting. So from then until now, what happened?
So the club night I launched, it went really successfully. The season after that, we moved to Ibiza and got our own villa. So we had a big 4-bedroom villa on the coast with sea view. It was like a movie scene. For 2 years, we had like international DJs coming in and playing on the roof, and we had like fire breathing acrobats on the roof, and it was pretty crazy. So
you're living the dream then with this.
Yeah. So we did
you ever imagined was sort of coming true for you, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I look back now and think I can't even believe we did it. But yeah, so we did 2 years. We did 2 years in the Filth Villa, and I managed to run club nights over here. The club night got pretty successful. We had residencies at Ministry of Sound in London every 3 months, and we had Sankey's in Manchester. We had a residency at Space in Ibiza. I managed to play and get my brand in Glastonbury, Secret Garden Party, Burning Man Festival. So more or less done bucket list, every single bucket list I could imagine we've played at and had a presence there. Wow. So I managed to, I was on Dragon's Den a few years ago, and I did this in my pitch, and it were about looking out of this. I had an ice cream van, what we converted into a DJ booth, and all the festivals paid us to go in with this ice cream van, and we brought a big crew of DJs into all the festivals, and we DJed from this ice cream van, and we was at Glastonbury, and I looked out, and they were like, I was dressed as a cavalier or some crazy stuff. And I looked down, there were like 1,000 people all dancing around this ice cream van with a big sound system. It was yeah, we managed to do quite a lot in such little time. So like I just want to do it all quickly and grow up fast. And that's like sort of where I work. So within months of launching, we were doing all the biggest clubs in the UK, and I was pitching and going to meet the club owners and like saying, look, I can bring 400 people from Leeds on coaches to Manchester to your club. And they'd be like, no one's ever brought more than 100. Everyone always says this. And then it got to the point where I sold all 400 tickets, and he had to stop giving me tickets because he said he's going to start losing money. And then we took all these coaches and completely took over this nightclub in Manchester called Sankey's. And the upstairs room, what we were hosting, were busier than the main room with a big DJ downstairs because we took such a big following. It was
wow. Yeah. Amazing. So weeks, but I mean, in the last few weeks before the lockdown happened, what was business like before the lockdown? What was sort of day-to-day, week-to-week business like?
So I stopped running the club night about 5 years ago, and it's like that's not what I do anymore. So I had a break from nightclubs, and I had 2 years off completely, went traveling with my girlfriend, and I did an online course, Ramit Sethi's Zero to Launch course, and it were all about building an online business. And one of the first parts of the course is about testing out what you should do, and I kept not wanting to go down the rabbit hole of nightclubs. I wanted to get away. I'd sort of like wash my hands of nightclubs because I associated it with partying all the time and going out. And I like to think I'd changed, and I was more focused on business. And it sort of like pushed me back towards that sort of thing to nightclubs. So it was like how to create an online course. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to teach people how to run nightclubs, right? Club nights, club promoters. And then when I did my market research, every club promoter started off as a DJ. So I thought, okay, so I need to teach DJs how to market and build a brand, so they can then go on to launch club nights and be a club promoter. So I did that quite a few years ago, about 4 years ago. And then I started blogging, writing marketing blogs for DJs, how to market on social media and stuff. So that went on for about a year, and I managed to probably get about 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers off my blog. I never monetized it at all. I didn't have any. I had another events company at the time. So after the blog, not after the blog, about a year after I'd started the blog, I did a webinar with Dan Meredith about setting up a Facebook group. And Dan Meredith's been in KPI as well, funnily enough. And I joined his group. I did this webinar on setting a Facebook group up with a girl called Claire Dowdall, I think it was. And straight after it, I went and set up a Facebook group. I emailed my whole list from my blog subscription, pushed them all into this group, called it DJ Growth Lab. Took me about an hour to think of a name. And straight away, it just popped off. It was just after Christmas 2017, and it popped off and grew really quickly. And one thing I realized in the group was that it was like coming into January and I was setting goals, and no one in the group set goals. And it's like DJs weren't into the sort of personal development and business world. They were into music, and that were it. And I thought, this is why they struggle so much. So I came up with an idea to write a book, and that took 3 days. And I had a team. I hired a team in Ibiza, and we wrote this book called DJ Goals in 3 days, and then sold it to the group. And we sold quite a lot and made quite a bit of money. And that went back into building the business and marketing the business and bringing in experts to do webinars. And that's how I started doing webinars. So this all was born really quickly in that time. And then, yeah, so that's grown over the last 2.5 years, 3 years. And it's grown into an online platform where we put together training courses. We have a membership. We launched our villa retreats a few years ago. So that's like we have villas in Ibiza, and 10 people from all around the world fly in and spend a week in the villa and with some of the world's biggest artists, musicians, music producers, DJs, and they learn music production, DJ skills. So fast forward 3 years, and we did about 2 or 3. We did 3 retreats last year and 3 retreats the year before. And I set myself a goal this year to get a villa for the whole year and have it as like a base. So we don't have to keep checking in and checking out and getting a different chef every time and all that. So it was like a fully functioning school, but in a luxury villa. So that was the goal I set myself last year. And we managed to find a villa this year around about January, February time. But we'd already started marketing and selling the retreats. So we'd already sold 45 places on the retreats before we found the villa. Yeah. In Ibiza, you have to find a tourist license. You have to find a villa with a tourist license, or you can't. It's really difficult to find. Yeah. So we literally found the perfect villa and signed the contract and paid the deposit a couple of weeks before COVID-19 hit. We just also moved into a brand new office, which we were turning into a podcast studio, because I'm a big podcast advocate. I've got an iTunes #1 podcast, DJ Growth Lab podcast. So I wanted it to be like a Joe Rogan setup, like a round table, because Ibiza is the capital of electronic music and there's DJs here all year round. I thought, well, I can, instead of all on Zoom, we can get people into the studio, and also we're going to let other people hire it and teach them how to podcast. So we're going to have 2 sections of the office. So we had this new office, we had this big villa, everything was going really well. It was like a fresh start. We were buzzing. We had a sea view from the villa, from the office. We had super fast fiber optic Wi-Fi, which is something we've not had since living here. This internet at home now is just SIM card 4G, because we can't get any other type of internet. It's really like old school out here unless you live in the city centre. So all that was going really well. We were looking forward to the peak of the influx of bookings. This March and April is where most people actually decide to come and start investing and book on the retreats. We had 12 retreats on sale, so it was 12 weeks of retreats from the 1st of May, 2nd of May onwards, every single week, back to back. We had everything scheduled. We had a team of 3 full-time staff. We had a chef booked. We had a guy coming to help us run it. So we had the whole infrastructure. We're just ready to go. And then this happened. So the start of the COVID-19 story, let's call it. I got a text off a friend called Nat about, I've looked at the date a few yesterday on WhatsApp. I think it was about the 12th of March. And she sent me a survival list on WhatsApp. And I read this, and it had a list of all these things I need to go out and buy. And she said, I've got a friend in the government saying London's going to be on lockdown in a few weeks. And I just thought, I said to my girlfriend, I said, I think Nat's lost it. I just read this. And I actually thought, like, it was just nuts. I thought, London's going to be on lockdown. I've never heard such silliness in my life. And then it sort of like slowly, gradually dawned on me that this was really happening. And like we were well ahead of London. We were ahead of UK and Spain, what were going on. We were on lockdown well 2 or 3 weeks before UK even realised it were real. But yeah, so that we were in the office and we're looking outside every day, and there were less people in the town, and there were less people in the post office queue, and there were less people. It was just getting really weird. And it was like we're spying out of like these blinds in the office, and yeah, you could see it was just changing, and it was getting really quiet everywhere, and people staying at home. So we got this office, but we were sharing it with the previous tenants who I knew until they moved out. And then we were going to take over, and they were still in there when I decided. I just said, "This is going down. I'm not going to be able to use this office." We got Wi-Fi company had told us they probably can't install because they're stopping work next Monday, so we wouldn't have had Wi-Fi in there because we were swapping it over. So I just made the decision one night to drive over and just get all the stuff out. I went through 3 police checkpoints to go and get all our stuff out of the office, and we literally just had to bail out of the office and just put that old news now. And then next phase was sitting down and looking at all the costs that we had, stripping down. We had HubSpot. We were building a massive HubSpot website. We invested about 7 or 8 grand in that. And that went. I just decided it's too expensive. We can't afford that now. Like obviously the retreat bookings just stopped more or less overnight once the flight news came in that flights were stopping, and that was it. People stopped booking. So it was you don't know this, and we've never met or really spoke much. We've spoken in the group a few times, but in the KPI group. But it was your post that made me sit down and have a word with my team. So you put a post up about how you sat down and said, "Look, you're gonna have to take a wage rise and work more to be able to keep going." So I had that conversation with my team after reading your whole story, and it like really inspired me. And I did that, and I said, like, look, we're gonna have to find another way to keep you all in a job to pay your bills. So we had like a team meeting, and at the same time, I had DJs that were working on our retreats, who were scheduled to work on the retreats, had lost all their income. All the gigs had been cancelled, but not just like short term, but for 6 months. So it hit them like that. So that's some of them were on thousands a weekend. So we had DJs who had just lost their whole livelihood overnight. They were asking me how they could come on what we're doing. So I do quite a lot of online webinars and teaching, and as membership academy and courses. So I had a lot of DJs asking if they could join and how they can get on board with teaching music production and stuff like that. So we literally, in a couple of days, we put these pieces together. How can we build something that's going to give the DJs that have lost work some money, keep my staff in a job, but also provide something of value that's going to be really cost efficient for people on lockdown? thought of an idea of creating like a Netflix for music producers. Like, I'm not a music producer. This is the funny thing about it. I run a music production company now, and I don't know how to produce music, right? So we thought the number one thing that people can focus on and get value and use to level up during this time is learning music production, because they're not going to be getting DJ gigs. And that's what my business was like, sort of focusing on, helping DJs get more gigs. So they're not going to get gigs during a lockdown. Clubs are shut for indefinitely. So music production is something that people always don't have time to do. They're busy. That's through all my market research, it's always the things that come up. I'm too busy to do this. I'm too busy to focus on it. I ain't got the time to make tracks and finish tracks. And now they have. So we put all these pieces together and came up with a concept of like a Netflix for music producers. And it started off with, we'll do 3 live webinars every week. And then we'll do 5 live webinars every week. And then I got really excited. We put a post up in the group with some branding. We put, would anyone be interested in Netflix for music producers? And my colleague Adam put this really wicked artwork piece together, and we posted it in the group and said who'd be interested, and we had like 380 people commented saying, give me it now, let me give you my money. And it was like, okay. We didn't put any price, we didn't tell them where it was, we just said it's going to be a Netflix for music production. And so like, I was listening to one of your podcasts actually today with JP, and you talking about always signaling, Daniel Priestley calls it, yeah? So always testing your market, finding out what they want. You can come up with the best idea in the world in your head, but it might be bullshit to your audience. So we put it out there, and I didn't expect that kind of feedback. It was phenomenal. So we're like, right, let's do this. We need to do it quickly. We already had a Kajabi website built for an older product, and we just reused everything we've got and changed the branding, built the new automation, rehashed a load of our old content. So we already had stuff in there already. So all the previous production workshops we put in there, what we've done in the past 3 years as a starting point. And then I just said, fuck it, let's do one every single day. And it was like, what? Every day? I'm like, yeah, every day. If we do one every single day, no one else in the world will be doing this. And no one will definitely not do it every day, and they won't probably have the balls to do it every day. And I said, but if we do it every day, then anyone that joins in a year is going to have 365 courses already available. So it's going to be like, it's a way to quickly grow and quickly have a bank of content in our membership academy. So we launched it on a webinar. We built this in 5 days. We did a webinar with a big international DJ called Rui de Silva. We were at #1 in the UK charts with that Touch Me. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got him. Rui de Silva came on our first ever webinar. He's like a really massive DJ and musician producer. And the track he made was called Satisfaction. And it was UK charts #1 about 10 years ago. But anyway, so he brought in a big crowd. We pitched the offer at the end, and we charged £25 for the membership academy. You get a Facebook group, you get a daily production webinar, but you also get access to all the archives. And the good thing about the webinars is the Q&A at the end, which you don't get, and no one gets access to this sort of stuff. So, because we've got so many big artists who are in our network who I know from years and years of working in clubs, I'm just leveraging all that network from 12 years of working in the music industry to bring in the biggest artists in the world to teach music production workshops. So, like, these guys are getting to ask their heroes how they do X, Y, Z. For example, we had Roger Sanchez on, is massive, and people were stopping him and saying, how do you use that plugin to make that sound? And he was like, oh, let me tell you. And going in and screen sharing, obviously, this is how we do it on Zoom. And then showing the actual tools that he uses to make certain noises in his electronic music. So yeah, we've got a USP. That's our USP. But also we've got the content library, which is extensively growing every day.
So how long ago was that from today that you launched that? How long ago was that?
54 days, because we're on workshop 54. So it's not hard to remember number. So every day we advertise the workshop to the group. We put the number on it. So it's Mixmasters 54. So it's mixmasters.tv if you want to check it out. So yeah, we came up with the name. So I from idea to launch, and we got 200 members on launch, and now we've got 350 members, and we've stopped marketing. And do you know when you get to a point where, right, we've got enough members to stay to have a healthy cash flow, let's now make it 10 times better and then go back out with Facebook ads again. So we're on a bit of a rebuilding the team, rebuilding the infrastructure, rebuilding the sales pages sort of period at the moment. We've just got a trickle of new members joining, 1 or 2 a day, and they're coming either organically or from a little Facebook campaign we've kept running. But we were getting Facebook ad leads at 24 pence a lead through this as well, and it were like, wow, everything just. So like we talk about having the different mindsets of, you can look at this COVID-19 as an opportunity, or you can feel sorry for yourself and take a beating. I just looked at every opportunity known to man. Like Facebook ads are like, wow, right, all in on Facebook ads, all in on building this membership and everything else we've done in the past. It's like we've rebranded, we've come up with a new name, we've changed the website. It's literally, we just moved quickly and set up a whole new company. And that's for me, it's a much better business than the previous businesses, because I've actually took a back seat to this, and I can actually work on the business more because I'm not a music producer. But previously, when we did webinars and stuff on marketing and promotion, it was all me. I had to be on all the webinars. I were either teaching or hosting. I had to show up a lot more. And I've got kids, I've got family. I would like wearing too many hats. Now this, I can take a step back and actually work on the business instead of in it, because I'm not a music producer, so I can't possibly be in it, do you know? So it works out a lot better for me. I can do what I'm actually good at, and better at, which is building the business and marketing the business, and letting my team, who are brilliant at the front end, hosting and managing the groups and creating the SEO blogs and editing the videos to put up every single day, they do that. So yeah,
amazing. It's incredible to me that we've done a few interviews like this, and one of the things I keep saying to our followers here who are listening is try and look for patterns, because you start to see patterns in those who've done exceptionally well, during this pivot, during this difficult lockdown. And so many things you've said, I've noticed other people have done that, right? So there's this huge emphasis on acting very, very quickly. There's this emphasis on recycling old assets that you've already got, right? Looking back at old digital assets and seeing if you can reuse them again, right? Not reinventing the wheel here. And another common theme someone's written here: utilizing existing network and nurturing new relationships for mutual benefit. Definitely collaborations, right? Another one was the fact that when this happened, you acted quickly. Yes, you used old assets that you already had, but then you threw everything at it. As soon as you knew that this was something that looked like it was working, and you noticed that marketing costs were even lower, that's when you were like, right, I'm going to throw everything at the marketing costs now, because if you, what's the Warren Buffett quote? When be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful, right? If you can see. If you can see the opportunity, now is the time to advertise and to get your message out there and get your product or service out there to people who are looking for it, right? And another thing that you've said, which I think, in fact, quite a few have said, certainly Mary Grant yesterday said, and that was that what the business that's emerged because of this pivot is actually more profitable now than your business, despite that massive shock that you've gone through. And this should be like one of the most inspiring things about the Pivot series for me. It's that you're inside this massive shock, you're having to evolve super fast. You're actually creating something more profitable, something that's a better business, a more efficient way of doing your business, right?
Yeah. Well, it will be massively profitable going forward. And what we've done in the last week, we've actually employed we've actually employed members from our community. So we've now got a team of 6. So we're actually giving people work. There were guys in our community who were really talented, lost all their work, videographers, for example. A lad called Justin on our team now. and another lad called Nick, who's a SEO content writer, something that we've never, ever done. I've never really focused on SEO. I'm a Facebook ads guy. I run all my own ads, so I'm into quick wins, and I can't wait for SEO to start gaining traction. But now this is like, okay, well, we need to do both now. I can focus on the Facebook ads, and we need to start putting out blogs. So we decided to put out a daily blog. So we're building these now. Every single workshop, we're editing it into a show reel, like a little 6-minute teaser, and then having a SEO optimized blog. And then soon the next day that goes out onto the internet. And so we're going to have 365 blogs a year going out, gaining traction with all these production tips, what no one else is going to be doing. So every day we're putting out amazing value for free. And then
that's incredible. And I think that's a big one, isn't it? It's all about giving value, right? This is something that when Jason Grayston was on here earlier, in another interview, he was very, very, hot on saying it's all about service. It's all about giving as much value as you possibly can, and then ultimately from that, you won't need to do too much marketing. You don't need to do too many ads because people will just speak about you. Word of mouth will get out there, right? And especially right now where, people want that value. I think if you can be seen as someone who's giving a huge amount, then it's going to really work in your favor.
Yeah, I've always worked in that way. I've always worked in a premise about giving about 80% of our content away for free. So the whole business of the Facebook group, DJ Growth Lab, has grown to 9,000 members is because of the free webinars that we posted over the years. We used to do them weekly in some periods, and we bring in experts from all over the world in different areas of the music industry. I think you touched on a good point a minute ago about using your network. The guy that just left the comment. I'm actually considering pivoting my own personal brand into more of of showing people how to utilize the network to build a business instead of feeling like it's got to be them, because that's one of the things when you've got kids, especially, and you want to spend more time with your family. Like the last thing you want to be like struggling with is showing up constantly online and having to do all these live streams and webinars. And if it's all based around you've got a lot more pressure. Whereas if you leverage your networks more, you can have less time online yourself and pay other people to come in and be the expert. And that's what Mixmasters is. It's all about all the best music production experts in the world coming and teaching. So you get all these different ways of teaching, all these different tips from different walks of life and the different software they use for producing music and different genres of electronic music. So you're getting all these different variables, and it's all by me leveraging my networks and my team's networks. And I think for me, it's going to be a much more fun way of running my business.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it just sounds like the business has completely evolved, and actually, you found a way of doing your business in a way that feels more aligned to your values, right? And it certainly looks like a very exciting vision, long-term vision that you've got coming up.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it would be great to dig into. I mean, obviously, you've been through a lot in the last 2 months, right? To go through all of this. And you've got an incredible network, and you and I are in one of the networks together. It's you must have seen a lot of business owners, or given advice to a lot of business owners, or watched a lot of people struggle. What are the biggest mistakes that you've seen business owners make?
Right. So I've got there's a guy who runs a business in our space who left me a really long WhatsApp message, and I think it was all about he don't want to charge anyone during this time. So he says he's going to let everyone who's subscribed to his platform have free. He's going to make it free for 3 months, and then he's going to give away 6-month free trials to everyone. Will I help him give them away? And I'm like, why are you doing that? It's a really low price product for the value you get. It's a wicked product. And I just thought to myself, everyone's panicking and just thinking, right, I need to give everything away for free. And then he was literally going to suffer himself because of it. And I said, well, why? It's a perfect time for people to focus on what you've got and to use it even more, and for you to teach them how to use it better. And we had a few WhatsApps back and forth. He never looked at it like that. It was like a panic. It just, everyone had told him that the world's collapsing, no one's got money, everyone's lost a job, and everyone just panics and like, shit, I need to give everything away for free. And I think that's the number one trait I've seen that has been quite a lot of people's downfall during this. And I think now it's leveled out a bit. People have actually seen that it's not actually that bad, and not people are going to lose their jobs. The economy is going to be hit massively, but at this moment in time, it's not that bad. A lot of people are affected. Obviously, there's people who've lost jobs and they're not getting any money at all. Obviously, it's bad, but it's not as bad as some people made out at first.
You run a massive risk as well if you give everything away for free that you do. You're sort of commoditizing your product or service, and it can be quite a long-lasting damage that you're kind of doing, right? And ultimately, I've seen a lot of people, they've given a lot for free, and now, like you said, that's sort of being phased out. People are like, well, actually, this is a long-term thing now. I've got to find a way of creating a revenue out of this, creating income out of this to support the team, support this, support livelihoods. And now I see this change. People are now starting to find creative ways to turn what they were doing into products and services that people are willing to pay for and want to pay for, despite the lockdown.
Yeah, I think another thing I've noticed quite a lot, I think people do feel guilty because there's a lot of trolls on social media are hating on people for trying to sell. And we've had quite a few really nasty comments and bitterness for us trying to like sell anything and especially launching a new product. We had a couple of people thought it was disgusting. Like, how can you think about selling more stuff when the world's falling apart and everyone's lost work and all this sort of stuff? And it's like, they don't look at the team that you've got to support and the bills and all that sort of stuff that the day-to-day operations of the business. And then people do see read it. I don't spend any time on social media. I hate it. I'm in a Facebook group. That's it. I'll go in there once or twice a day. I don't use Instagram. I don't do anything at all. I can't stand being on social media for that reason, because of all the negativity and the comments. It affects people, and they take it. People dare go to the supermarket because they didn't want to get hated on for buying too many toilet rolls, for example. Stupid stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is mad. There's been a huge layer of negativity. We've seen it too. I think people are just in sort of panic mode, aren't they? Their backs up because they're worried and they're nervous and they're scared about their own situation. And I think that just in times like this, I always say it's nothing gives transparency like a crisis. And you see people emerge in a crisis and they're either really negative or really positive, right? They're either trying to the best out of this and finding things to be grateful for, or they're the complete opposite and they've got this really kind of toxicity to the way they kind of approach everything. And I think it's difficult to judge even a troll, right, which you're really struggling with, who's maybe posting on all your stuff. It's difficult to hate a troll because to go out of your way to post something. I mean, we've had some awful stuff on adverts which are just family friendly, martial arts, some things you can do at home to help your child type videos, and we've had some awful, a couple of people in particular. But for people to make those sort of comments, they've got to be in a really bad place mentally. It's just such a negative place they've got to be in, right? So for me, I almost try and approach it with empathy or sympathy, and try not to let it affect me. But it is difficult. I think it is a bit difficult as a business owner when you're doing everything you can to support a team and to keep your business going, and then you see stuff like that, right?
Yep. I think I'm the same as you. Every time I see that, I just think they must be suffering. They must have some problem there, and they've got to take it out on someone. And I just feel bless them, But the point, what I was saying is, I think with the business, that affects business owners. It's seeing all that sort of negativity is affecting the business owners. It's stopping them pivoting themselves or keeping afloat. So.
Yeah, it's slowing them down at a time where they need to be going 400 miles an hour.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like definitely. Some of my friends are like, oh, they can't believe that I've been so busy, and they've all been just sat chilling, watching Netflix, and all like, oh yeah, I'm just having this downtime. It's brilliant. I'm like, fucking hell, I need some downtime because it's been non-stop. And then we did the Set for Love thing, which was like that was the most intense thing I've ever done as well. So we're in the middle of this pivot, and then we did the Set for Love last week, and then like Monday we're like a sigh of relief. Yeah, it was. It's been intense, and I need a holiday.
Yeah. Talk about patterns, right? I mean, so many people we've interviewed, they're the busiest they've ever been since they started their business, right? And for me, that's all because they're going out there looking for problems to solve. And isn't that what an entrepreneur is, right? Someone who's just non-stop looking to solve problems. They're out there, they're trying to solve problems and create services, create products to try and help people. And so right now, I think you're almost seeing a bit of a shift, a bit of a, when things get really tough, you start to see entrepreneurs creating stuff and people who are more self-employed going the other way. And like someone's just said here, there's a fire sale mentality from businesses who haven't been open to or able to adapt.
Yeah, that's a good comment.
Adapting, like you said, is one of your skills. I think it's definitely a skill, right? What's your advice on adapting and how to adapt, how to approach adapting so that you can do it quickly?
Like I said earlier, with always test the market, find out what people actually want and what's going to get the results. Like you just mentioned, then the getting results is we've got more results from this than we've probably done in the last 2 years of the previous model. The Villa Retreats was our #1 results because it was like intense 7 days. You leave with a guaranteed track that you're ready to sign. And one of the retreats last year, we had 5 record deals on the retreat signed. So we get results from that. But then this is like an online version. So the mix masters, all the production workshops. We've actually run remix competitions where members have been signed to record labels already. We've had 2. One of them's charted quite highly this week as well on Beatport, which is the main chart for electronic music. So for me, every day we see massive results, quicker than ever, more quicker, and we've got testimonials coming out left, right, and center every day. While we've been on this, my Slack channel just popped up with 2 new testimonials added. One of my teams just popped in, so it just popped up in my top corner. I'm not that reading Slack, by the way. But yeah, so we're getting more results and quicker results, and it's amazing to see. I love it. It makes me feel 10 times better. It's less of a struggle than before. I can take a day off now as well if I need to. It's sort of like we've got the team in place now where it can run itself, and I can check in and have a couple of Zoom calls a day. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, amazing. One of the things I often ask, especially it's something I'm asking a lot in this Inspiring Pivot series, where we're basically interviewing incredible business owners who have managed to pivot online rapidly. Have you had any? Obviously, for a lot of people, having the right advice at the right time, or being a part of a community which can help influence them, or going through a certain course or whatever, can set you up for being able to pivot online or adapt very, very quickly. Has there been any mentor or group that you've been a part of or course that you've done that's influenced you massively? So
I didn't mention this earlier. There's so much I've not mentioned. I've got a lot to say. Anyway, your post in the KPI group. So I went on the Key Person of Influence course. I honestly don't even know our KPI number. Not got a clue where it was. I tried thinking then and I just don't know. It were about 4 years ago. So the Key Person of Influence course from Dent Global. I'm not really that active in there. I bob in and out. I've got it as my #1 notification, so stuff pops up and I read stuff. Your post stood out like a sore thumb for some reason, and I sat and digested that. And then I think that sort of sucked me back into KPI. And then I saw a few of Daniel Priestley's live streams, and then I kept making sure that I checked out every single one of his live streams because he was just talking complete sense. And I think he sort of virtually mentored me through this. And because I listened to everything he did, everything he said, and he nailed on the fact about asking your audience Because he was saying, he says in a couple of weeks' time, there's going to be a saturation of online courses. Everyone's going to be doing online courses. If you don't be that guy who does an online course, go and ask your audience first. Find out what they actually want. Find out if they're willing to buy it and what they're going to pay for it, and do that. Don't just rush and put together your
tailor your course towards what they want.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we did. And I didn't mention this earlier. I completely forgot that was the reason that we put the post in the group, because I phoned Adam up and I said, look, we need to stop. You need to call 30 people. That's what he said. He goes, you need to get on the phones and then you need to get proof that 30 people are ready to buy it. And that's what I told Adam to go do that. And then we put the post in the group. So all that combined was like, it all came from Daniel Priestley's from his live streams, and it were actually most of the stuff he were putting in his oversubscribed group, which is a free group. So if you're listening to this, you can join that for free. Oversubscribed, and they were quite. He still does them quite often in there, and I think I took a lot from Daniel, and I've also got a mentor coach in Australia, James Schramko, who runs a podcast called superfastbusiness.com. So he's helped me through some of this. I don't think I could manage without having these support groups. And I've used them 10 times more during this. And I'm not so much now, because it's helped me at the front end, and then I don't really need to go in there as much now, but it definitely helped us launch this new business.
Well, this is it, isn't it? I mean, we talk about leveraging your network and trying to help people in your network, but also, I mean, you just imagine the amount of advice and support and that's just invaluable, right? I mean, it's clearly made a massive impact on what you've done. Just to wrap up, then, Danny, what would be your biggest? I mean, you've given so much advice already, but I normally finish with this. What would be your biggest piece of advice to someone right now who's struggling in this lockdown? They're struggling to pivot online, and I mean, you've already said to seek out what their customers may want. Do you have any other advice at all to kind of close up on?
If anyone asks me now if they want to get into putting together an online business and what's the number one thing they could do now, I'd say set up a Facebook group and start building that community, because they are invaluable. I can launch a product or service now to my group, and it will always work. And I get that feedback. I can put polls in there. If anytime we have an idea, I put a poll in. It's invaluable. And my girlfriend's launching her business now. She does baby wearing consultancy, so slings and all that. And she's now doing the same. She's set up a group and she's buzzing. She's got 150 people in it in a couple of weeks, and she's doing live streams in there. She's getting all these people from all over the world, USA and Canada, in there. She's got all these big brands are now sharing his content on Instagram, really quickly. It's grown really quickly, and she's using the Facebook group. And if I could say one thing, that use the Facebook group, fill it with the right people, and find out what they want and create something that they want. Amazing. Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. We've got so many great comments. Amazing interview. Thank you for all the great advice. That was you. Thank you. If anyone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing, what's the best place for them to find you? Email danny@dannysavage.com. And if you want to check out our membership platform, see how we built it on Kajabi, it's mixmasters.tv. And I'm on social media as that Danny Savage, but like I said, I don't post that much. All right, cool. Danny, thank you so much for coming on, mate. Really, really appreciate it. Nice one. Cheers, Sebastian. Cheers, guys, for listening.